And good morning, Hoosier Nation. Welcome to another victorious edition of Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After Washington. Last night in the late game, your Indiana Hoosiers go on to win against Washington 90-80, going 11-2 on the season with 2-1 in the Big Ten currently. After the long holiday break, IU got to a hot start in this game. Offense got going in this one for IU's 2-point guards, going 5 for 5 from 3 to start the first 5 possessions for Indiana. Connerway making 3 of them, Enright making 2 of them. Connerway would continue that shot making to a perfect stat sheet in that first half, with a team leading 18 points in the first half, going 5 for 5 from the field, 4 for 4 from 3 and 4 for 4 from the free throw line, with just 2 assists on just 1 turnover, being the only blemish kind of in his stats. The second, taking a 12-point lead, I believe it was, into halftime for IU. Second half, Washington came out a little more physical and really looked to slow the game down on the offensive side for Indiana, causing a little bit of troubles where they cut Indiana's 12-point lead down to about 4 points at one point. But a great stretch off the bench from Trent Sicily on his own little 10-0 run streak on made 2s and 3s would bring the score back up to a comfortable lead. Washington had one last run in them during an IU drought to go on a 9-0 run, but a 3 followed by a layup by Wilkerson would put the game back in IU's hands and close it out to Washington playing the fouling game, trying to extend the game. Thank you for being here with me. So excited to get back into watching basketball. Obviously, a very interesting feeling to get back into basketball after the long stretch, after everything that's going on with football. Obviously, drawing our eyes and our excitement over there was kind of dreading. I don't know how you guys felt going into this game. Was hoping for a game like this, was hoping for an effort like this, some shot making and everything. Because after what we have seen recently from this basketball team and the excitement and high we are on with the football team, it would have been tough to have to watch the basketball team struggle again and everything. But obviously, it seems like the team did things right in the extended break that they had, getting reps in the proper way and getting things going. It was an interesting matchup going into this game. A lot of concerns with this team overall this season with how they're going to handle Big Ten and some of the teams that have elite bigs. And this was one of the first ones, or one of those teams. This is a Washington team that starts 2 guys that are near, if not 7 foot, at least on their stat sheet they are. Starts 2 of them. One of them, the German gentleman Steinbeck, which plays the 4 and a very physical team, and also ranking high up there in the nation on offensive rebounding. And it was Indiana that really handled that offensive rebounding a lot better than I really thought they were going to. IU game planned for that really well. Guys were attacking the rim when shots were going up against Indiana on the defensive side. You really saw guys putting their hands on a body or finding a man to box out, staying active and everything. And it led to IU to lead in offensive rebounding, surprisingly enough. IU had 11 offensive rebounds to Washington's 8. IU overall with the rebounding edge of 33-29. So not at all what we kind of really expected to see from this game. Was really kind of concerned going into it and what we have this whole season of how Indiana would play that. And I think the physicality that you saw from Indiana is what did it. And I think the stats even don't tell the full story of that as well, because there were some rebounds that were air balls that bounced off weird that Indiana wasn't able to corral that went on the side of Washington. So doing the things that they needed to do in that avenue to make up for lack of size, doing it with aggressiveness and physicality and fundamentals. So makes me feel a little bit better going into the season. Obviously, there's still other teams like Michigan that are going to be very concerning from that end, but at least we've seen a good game plan, and we've seen guys be able to execute well for that as well. Defensive, I think, kind of goes right hand in hand with that. They handled their first thing against two bigs really well, I think. Doubled them at times, but just made things tough for them in the paint. A couple guys would come over and double. Good rotation to get back after those double. Now, the blemish side to that is the second half with the fouling. IU got a little bit handsy again in the second half. I think the refs were a little talked maybe in halftime to want to call a little bit more of that because it obviously shifted. I think Indiana also, as the game goes on, as you get tired defensively, you start to get a little more handsy. So that's also another point of why it was so different. But gave Washington 24 attempts in the second half from the free throw line. They had just one attempt from the free throw line in the first half, making it 21 of them, and being just over half of their 40 points in the second half came from the line. A little disappointing to see that. There were some good moments. I think the adjustments in the game plan from the team overall defensively was good. You saw some moments of zone in the second half as well that Indiana looked really, really good. They kind of a matchup zone at times and kind of shifted back to man to man in good moments when that zone was kind of breaking down on them. So good communication from the guys, good connected moments on the defensive end. So that made me excited to see for Indiana overall in this game. I think for me, the star player of this game is Connor Enright. If we gave out game balls on this show, or I had game balls to give out, I would give it to him. This is probably give it to him, or a close tie with him and Tate Connerway. He finished in this game with 12 points on 4 for 9 shooting, 2 for 5 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the free throw line, and led the team in assists with 9 assists, nearly double digits, nearly a double-double for him there with points and assists in this game with 0 turnovers. That's the amazing thing as well. And I just loved the way, and we've talked about it many times on this show, I loved the way he looked for his own shot. He is a player, again, that in many games has not looked for his own shot. And that has caused teams to sag off of him. And you could see that was very clear at the beginning of this game. That was Washington's game plan going into it, how they were going to defend IU. They were going to attack Lamar and Tucker, take their points away, and dare other players on Indiana to be the scorers or get the shots. You saw that by Connor's guy being a couple steps off of him, shying more towards Lamar, or being able to come over and help elsewhere. And good on Connor to see that, and not only see that, but take advantage of that and really going for him. I liked what he did making those shots. I didn't expect him to do that, but he also did a great job of getting downhill. When those shots didn't go in after those first 2 makes, because he honestly didn't make any more, you saw him make an asserted effort to get to the rim and made some circus shots as well going to the rim. So that had to kind of piss off Washington's coaches a little bit when you game plan, hey, we're going to take these guys away and we're going to shy off this guy. And then suddenly the guy you're shying off of goes for a lot of points, or goes for more points than he normally makes in games. Also, just love always his awareness in the game to attack. There was a moment as well, whether it was something on purpose from him or the coaching staff or whatever, where their best guard in the first half, Claude, had 2 fouls, and he was guarding Enright, and Enright saw that and drove on him and drew the third foul on him, which is great. I mean, I argue that so many times when I'm watching games, when you see players, because it happens to us, it's happened to us many games, when you see players that are in foul trouble, make them make the decision. Go at them, attack them, make them make the decision to either pick up that foul or shy off you, and then you're going to have a higher chance at making a basket. And that's what Connor did in that moment. Attacked him, drew that third foul from him, made him have to sit a good portion of that first half, allowing Indiana to stay in that rhythm and have more comfortability in the first half. So loved that, whether that was intentional, whether it was just missed, unintentional situation. Loved seeing that attacking a guy that is in foul trouble for Indiana. Like I said, the other favorite player in this game for me was Connerway, leading scorer for IU with 20 points, 18 of them in the first half on 6 for 7 from the field, a perfect 4 for 4 from the field, or 4 for 4 from 3, and 4 for 4 from the charity stripe, 2 assists. Played just 9 minutes in the second half. A lot of that was because of foul trouble, and then equally so, some of Trent Sicily going on his stretch as well. And actually a perfect stat sheet in the first half. That 6 for 7 was a perfect 6 for 6 going into half. That only missed shot in the second half for him. But his first half, just getting downhill, being aggressive, doing the things that he can do, kicking out to guys, was really great. In his aggressiveness on defense as well, he's just really that tone setter for IU, and loved what he did overall in this game. Obviously, a slow second half, got a little handsy. Some of those fouls were being called, might have frustrated him overall, but is really kind of taken over by Lamar. I think where Connerway was aggressive in the first half, it was Lamar's turn in the second half. Lamar struggled a little bit, was a little cold in the first half with just 4 points on 1 for 6, 0 for 3 from 3, partially, again, due to Washington's game plan on him, wanting to take away that shot, wanting to take him away as Indiana's leading scorer overall. But halftime, the coaches might have talked to him to tell him to get a little more aggressive and attack more, because he looked a lot more aggressive in the second half, scoring 18 points on 5 for 11, shooting 3 for 7 from 3. So a lot better second half from him, and good to see him at least find some rhythm. The only obviously concerning point from him is that 3-point shooting has been struggling a little bit recently with him, and hopefully he can find that again, as he finished the game 3 for 10 from 3. Not very characteristic from him, I say, as he's 30%, and we would love to have had that in the past, but just hoping to see that shot go in a little bit earlier in the game for him, allows him to feel a little more comfortable overall. But again, this is probably very indicative of what we're going to see in the Big Ten. And as the season goes on, as teams watch game tape of Indiana, they're going to game plan against Lamar and try to take him away. And I think it was good on the coaches to find some situations for him, run some things for him in the second half to get him a little bit of success and get him going, to help him finish with those 22 points, being the leading scorer for IU. The big surprise of this game was we got Trent Sicily back. We got that Trent Sicily of old, the one that we have seen in some earlier games in the season, who has struggled to kind of produce like he has. Otherwise, he's gone in and done some good things off the stat sheet kind of thing for IU. But in this game, finished with 10 points on 4 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3. All of that scoring in that 2-minute stretch in the middle of the second half. IU needed it. That was when Washington was starting to come back, and Indiana's kind of slow start to the first half in those first 6 minutes. It was when Trent got in and went on that 10-point run that kind of got it back under handle for Indiana. it really looked like to me like he kind of got mad in that stretch for a moment where Washington's star big man, he was up against him on the defensive side, Steinbeck. It there was a play, I forget when it was, if it was before or after his 10-point run, but there was a play on the defensive side where Trent was up against Steinbeck, and I don't know if Trent bumped him in a way or going up for the rebound was physical to him to kind of box him out. But there was a moment where Steinbeck felt that pressure and looked for a foul from the refs. Didn't get it. IU's offensive possession happens. It comes back the other way. And again, as he's coming down the court or as Trent Sicily kind of gets up to him, does a little how you doing kind of bump onto him. Happens so much during the game. And he does one of the worst, most dramatic flops Steinbeck does and draws that foul. And I think that kind of pissed off Trent Sicily a little bit in this game. So great to see the Trent Sicily of old back. And as we say that, we get to the Martha of old back. Martha, welcome into the show. Was kind of running down some of the game and everything. I've already talked about Connerway and Enright, and we're just getting on Sicily and overall. But give me your overall first thoughts of this game.
Yeah, and apologies for being late. My computer, it's that Monday after the long holiday break. I'm on my cell phone. My computer has decided it doesn't want to go back to work here this morning. So we're adjusting on the fly a little bit. Yeah. So I thought the game last night. I thought offensively, for the most part, and you mentioned Trent Sicily. He was an absolute bright spot, but our guard play overall. And I don't know if we've gotten to DeVries yet. Outside of him, I thought was really pretty solid. I thought we forced tempo, especially on the offensive end, right, and pushed the basketball. I thought Trent Sicily was kind of a difference maker, right? He was aggressive. He hit some outside shots. He was aggressive taking the ball to the basket. He finished when getting fouled, and we've talked a lot about just the ups and downs you're going to have with the freshman. And we saw some bright spots from Trent Sicily early in the season. But as we've gotten into some of the Big Ten play, he's kind of disappeared a little bit. So it was great to see him kind of reestablish himself and his presence from what we've seen earlier in the season. So it was that part of it was great to see. And I thought he had a great game, and hopefully that's a great step forward as we enter kind of the meat and potatoes of conference season. And I thought Connerway looked a lot better. He still has some kind of turnovers that are head scratchers a little bit where you take pause. But I thought he kind of reestablished himself as well yesterday. So it was good to see, especially after the long layover. You never know what you're going to get. Washington can score the basketball. So I thought overall it was a good first game. I didn't love the entirety of it defensively. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit as well. But I thought on the perimeter, we really kind of established the tempo early, and that was good to see.
Yeah. I did talk a little bit on the defense. I'll rehash it so we can get your thoughts too on it. And I think overall, to start the game, Indiana had a good game plan, taking away Steinbeck and all that situation. I think it was that second half that I talked about earlier that it was the handsiness of IU, the fouling situation that happened, allowing them to get 24 free throws in the second half. Obviously, something you don't want to give another team those kind of chance, especially when that ends up accounting for half of their points, over half of their points in that second half. But you saw some zone that looked good from IU and everything. What are your overarching thoughts then of the defense?
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about how if there's one thing this team isn't, it's overly athletic, and I think you're going to see that defensively kind of be a little bit of this team's Achilles heel at times, right? I think in any time we push the tempo like we do, and we were to start the game we were scoring at a really impressive rate per possession. That's going to give the other team a lot of possessions as well, and the chance to score the basketball a lot. And when when you're not athletic on the wings, and even you look at kind of Tucker DeVries, who I think has struggled a little bit defensively. Uh, you put yourself in a position to give up a lot of points too. So sometimes I think it looks a little bit worse in the box score than it is. I thought we played well at times defensively, but there's still those moments where, for whatever reason, we go through those lapses. And I think the good thing is yesterday, and you've got to be able to combat that with scoring the basketball. And yesterday we did. It's still a little bit of a concern. I think moving forward is when the shots aren't falling, it's not. I don't always have the warm fuzzy that we're going to be able to lean on our defense, just because of the roster buildup. But hopefully the offense is still in a position where it can carry us, and we can find different ways, whether it's zone, whatever it may be, to get creative defensively. That's going to keep us in games where we might not be shooting it at the clip we were last night.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too, like you said, the physicality, the lack of athleticism that we have compared to others, is where you see that kind of second half a little more tired, legs are a little more sluggish, and you're going to be reaching and striving to try to stay in it defensively and everything. And I think that leads to, like you mentioned a little bit there, I haven't talked about Tucker yet in this game. From a scoring standpoint, hasn't been as high in the recent games. Finished with just 6 points in this one, 3 for 7 from the field, a big old donut for him from the 3-point line, going 0 for 4, and finished with 3 fouls. So started to get in foul trouble, especially in the second half. And I think he's one of those where may not be athletic as much as other guys, but really kind of gets overly handsy when he's driven on by a 3. I think there were times in this game, however, that he was against, obviously, Steinbeck, because he lines up on the 4, and I think that caused a little bit of troubles for them defensively. You saw Steinbeck kind of switch off and go to other players, and they had to put Washington had to put other guys on Tucker to still try to take him away, which again was part of the game planning from Washington. But the lack of making those threes obviously took him away from that kind of threat situation. But I still liked his defense when he ran against the other Tucker, when you have Tucker on Tucker, was trying to back down and tried to do a lot of one-on-one situations. He stayed home in those kind of in the paint situations defensively. He does excel when he doesn't have to be athletic like that, just being physical, being big and walling up. I think he does a good job in those moments. It's when he's paired up against a more athletic 4 that's going to drive and everything on him, that's where the hands get into situations. But would like to see him get going a little bit more in games, and hopefully his scoring can come back. What are your thoughts on Tucker?
Yeah, he's kind of the microcosm of our entire team, right? I mean, he's a guy that's going to go off for great offensive nights, but not the most athletic guy, and sometimes that's going to sacrifice some things on the defensive end. I think he struggled a little bit last night, and even but he's a guy that even when he struggles, his presence is going to be known, whether it's getting in the mix defensively, whether it's having a couple big buckets here and there. I remember there was a point there in the second half where Washington closed the gap, maybe down to 5 or 6 points there, and Indiana went on a run, and Tucker had a big basket during that stretch. And I've read some things, and I have not picked up on this. So, but there's been some comments on X that maybe Tucker's been grabbing at his calf a little bit, and maybe he's dealing with a little bit of a lower body injury. I don't know that for fact, and not trying to start anything, but you just never know. You don't know. And but again, I think he's a guy that obviously with his experience and what we've been able to see him do offensively, extremely valuable to this team. And you kind of hate to. He's had some quiet nights offensively, and I think when he has those quiet nights offensively, it kind of everything else is kind of under the microscope on what he gives up defensively and his lack of athleticism. So I think the best thing for Tucker is going to be for him to get back to a point where he's contributing a little bit more offensively. I don't think he's ever going to be a defensive stopper for us. I think, and you mentioned why, right? Just lack of athleticism and everything that's involved with that. So Yeah, hopefully if he's dealing with something, hopefully he can get through that, but hopefully he can just kind of get back at it on the offensive end to where he's contributing at a higher clip.
Yeah, and it's funny as you were saying that, and it is true. Again, the athleticism is there, but then he does those weird moments where he had that interesting pogo stick, one-legged fade away that he made. But I don't know, that's maybe
Sneaky
not as
athletic.
athletic as. Yeah, he better than us.
Better than us. There you go.
But it is. I think you hit something interesting there that you see as well in games where he may not be contributing on the stat sheet. He's another coach out there on the court. And there were moments in this game where I definitely noticed that, where he went off and the organization isn't quite right. Things aren't moving quite as well on the offensive side. So there is a void when he's not in there, even when he's not scoring. So an interesting thing to kind of keep track of as we go forward. Hopefully he finds that offensive rhythm. Indiana's big men, obviously not a huge stat day for them. 4 points from Sam Alexis, 8 points from Reed Bailey off the bench, but felt like they did a good job handling the situation with the big guys. And Reed Bailey, possibly an ill-advised breakaway dunk going against another bigger, more physical guy that blocked him. Probably not well advised that, but I like the confidence. We've talked about on this show about wanting to see him be more aggressive. So I guess if I have to deal with him getting posterized and blocked on a dunk to get that aggressiveness out of him, I'll take it. What are your kind of thoughts on the big guys?
Yeah, it's I kind of it's and I don't intend for it to sound bad, but you've kind of had to lower your expectations with them a little bit. I mean, they're not gonna all of a sudden turn into dominant Big Ten big men. The roster is what it is, and I think each guy, depending on the opponent, is going to have moments. I think the one kind of challenge I have with Reed Bailey is just I think I don't think he has the strongest hands in the world, and I think that kind of affects his ability at times to finish at the rim. A couple moments where whether it's been a rebound and a putback or somebody's had a great feed to him in transition where he's been unable to finish it at the rim. But then there's those moments where he does, right? He gets downhill and can finish. Um, and so you see it in moments, but I also think it's kind of unfair to just assume he's all of a sudden going to turn into a Big Ten big man. That's not him, and that's not ever who he's been. So, I also take that into consideration. So, and of course, you'd like to see a little bit more out of Sam Alexis too. 4 points, 2 of 3. Um, 6 total rebounds, which I think is led the team. So again, I think you want to see a little bit more from a box score standpoint, but you also at this point in the year kind of you kind of know they are who they are, and that might be the contribution that even in victory that we get out of them. So would like to see them establish their presence a little bit more. Would like to see them maybe finish at the rim a little bit better, but overall, I guess I would say not bad.
Yeah, and I think that's the situation. It feels weird to lower your bar and say this kind of situation, but I didn't see them as a negative in this game. I don't. When looking overall at this game, I don't think, oh well, our big men did bad or our big men didn't show up. They just kind of were there, and then it sounds horrible to say, but in a situation where we knew going into this that this could be a real detriment to this team. And especially going into Big Ten, I hate to keep hammering home that kind of narrative. To get a game where you just kind of are like, I don't remember what they did, is probably a good thing for this team. So it's so weird to try to phrase it and say that, but that's kind of where it is. Nick Dorn again continues to kind of have a good rotation minutes. He finished 22 minutes in this game. Was one of the highest plus minuses for this team as well in his run. Scored 8 points on 3 for 4 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. Got the 1 free throw on an and one that he had in there. 2 rebounds, just 1 turnover. What I see from him right now going on is a bigger point each game. Now, it hasn't made a big jump, but a smaller step each game for him to look for those more athletic plays that he has. I think he has been labeled and thinks he's just that shooter on the outside, and almost like he doubts himself and his athleticism to get downhill, but he has that in him and showed that a little bit in this game. And I still think that's a situation that IU needs a lot in every game, and want him to build that confidence and continue that forward. Any thoughts about Nick Dorn?
I thought Nick Dorn, there's a moment I think in the first half where we were kind of going on a run and he had a pretty big basket. I can't remember if it was an and one or a three or what it was that might have led to a timeout, but I really enjoyed kind of seeing the emotion out of him. I think he celebrated a little bit, and I think that's part of him just kind of gaining confidence, right? He's a guy that started the season injured, and it's kind of taken a while for him to find maybe his spot in the rotation. And there's even been like some conversations as things have ramped up, and just knowing what his production was in years past, does he have a potential to potentially crack the starting lineup? And it took a while for that to even be considered as a possibility, kind of watching him get back into the rotation. And now you're starting to see glimpses of, I think, who the real Nick Dorn is. He's starting to get more comfortable, and I think you're seeing that by the emotion he's showing when he's making good plays. So playing 20 plus minutes is great to see. Obviously, depth is going to be a key piece for us as we move forward into the Big Ten season. So I thought it was a good game by him. I thought he was one of the bright spots last night, and I think he continues to gain confidence. And it's good to see, especially when maybe Tucker doesn't have the offensive night that we're used to. It's great to see him step up and kind of fill that void a little bit.
Yep. Looking and turning into stats in this game, some interesting stuff to look at in this. Obviously, the biggest glaring one for me is the fouls situation. 4 fouls in the first half for IU, 15 in the second. Washington only had 1 free throw made in the first half and took 24, made 21 of them in the second half. That's a situation, obviously, that needs some attention and needs to get cleaned up, and obviously probably will get a lot of attention from the coaching staff going into the next couple of days before they play on Wednesday. Assists to made baskets, good, just barely right around 50% there, and 16 assists to 31 made baskets. The shooting, a little lopsided in this game as far as halves go. In the first half, IU shooting 66, nearly 67 from the field, to just almost 40% in the second half. A good 50% from three-point range in the first half to 37 in the second half. So shooting wasn't going on as good in the second half. What are some stats that you see in this game?
I see. I think the thing that jumps out of me is the the low amount of turnovers for each team. I show each team with 4, and I want to make sure that's accurate because that's extremely low. But that's an impressive number for both teams, and with that amount of points scored, it kind of speaks to that a little bit. But I think we've seen it be a little bit of a problem for IU, leading up, especially in some of the losses where they weren't taking care of the basketball. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see that low number. Obviously, defensively, you'd like to kind of maybe force. And we've talked a lot about defense and just not really setting the tone there. But I think you want to get in a position where you're forcing more turnovers, whether that's applying pressure or mixing it up defensively a little bit. So that stat jumps out to me a little bit. You love to see that 3-point percentage up over 40% again. I think that's where this team should be, and it's kind of their sweet spot for them to be successful. So those two jump out at me, and I think when you can keep the turnovers low and shoot the ball at a decent clip, this team's going to have a good chance to win.
Yeah, I think a higher chance to win with this team. If you see a higher point total, it's more likely Indiana's gonna pull out and take away the game in this one. So I think another interesting one, at least with the kind of narratives leading into this game, with Washington being the high offensive rebounding team, one to look at that I was concerned about going into this, that's not as bad as it was second chance points. And Washington just having a 1-point edge on that with 14 over Indiana's 13. So a positive there again with some of the negatives going into the season that we thought we'd see from this Indiana team, leading itself to being not bad in this overall. Before we kind of wrap up final thoughts and everything, let's take a moment as we get into this basketball season, the Big Ten season, women's season, and everything like that, to talk about the unofficial sponsor of the program, Hoosier Ticket Project. Martha, tell them what Hoosier Ticket Project is.
Thank you, Chad. Hoosier Ticket Project, a 501c3 nonprofit organization where we partner with Indiana ticket holders, the Indiana fan base to try to find homes for unused tickets or purchase tickets for individuals that otherwise wouldn't have the means to attend Indiana athletic events. Obviously, right now, getting into the meat of the Big Ten season, if there's games that fans can't make, and they have tickets, we would be proud and happy to find homes for those tickets with deserving fans, whether it's at-risk youth or people that can't afford to go. We're gonna do our best to find a home that's worthwhile for your tickets, and we do our best to try to share where those tickets end up. You can learn more about us, HoosierTicketProject.org. If you're interested in receiving tickets, you can hit request. If you're interested in making a donation, you can hit the donate tab, and that will walk you right through how to do that. We had about 15 people at last night's game, so that was a blast, especially late on a Sunday. Not always the easiest thing to do. So yeah, it's been a good thing, and we look forward to kind of rounding out the rest of the basketball season strong with getting deserving folks to games. Appreciate it.
Probably not any more football tickets being offered into that, but plenty of basketball to be seen.
It's a good problem to have.
Yes. And speaking of that, I do want to, because I did see that you went out. We got to shift and talk about it a little bit. I did see that you made your way out to Pasadena to watch that game and be a part of that atmosphere and everything, and just talk about that a little bit. Well, what was the trip like, being out there, seeing the Hoosiers, and what appeared to be nearly an Indiana home game, a pretty Indiana partial crowd. You're kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was, it came together quick, right? I think I obviously have shared that, I think I was at every home game but one or two this year. So, I'm born and raised an Indiana football fan. And as this season kind of progressed, and I've also saying that, right, as an Indiana football fan, I've always, when it looked like we may make the Big Ten tournament, or excuse me, the Big Ten championship game, I didn't jump on tickets right away because I've got that superstitious side of me with Indiana football that if I buy these tickets too early, something bad is going to happen. So I waited until the point that they got incredibly, incredibly expensive, and I'm like, you know what, not gonna do the Big Ten championship game, but if they make the Rose Bowl, or I kind of convinced myself I'm going to go to their first round playoff game, their first bowl game, and that was all well and good, but then it became the Rose Bowl, and I'm like, man, that's a logistical challenge. Can we pull this off? And I was kind of trying to talk myself maybe out of it because it's a lot on the heels of Christmas, and getting out there and booking on a short notice, and it's a lot. And I'm so glad I did it. Finally, I'm like, I just convinced myself I can't miss this. And I wanted to take my kid, my daughter. I did. So we made the 3-day trip. We made 3 days out of it, right? We flew out on a Tuesday, came home Friday morning, and it was an absolute blast. Even the rain on Thursday and Friday, excuse me, Wednesday afternoon and Thursday morning before the game, it cleared up by game time, and it was an absolute blast. And I think the best part of it was just seeing the families out there. The win was great, right? But like there had to be 70,000 IU fans out there, and just seeing the joy. It brought so many families together, I think, in a way that maybe I never understood it would. I mean, it was, and it wasn't, I think you saw kids and dads or grandkids and grandparents, and a lot of tears being shed, and just people being able to spend those moments together. And it was a really, really cool thing. I think there'll continue to be a lot of stories come out of it, but like it was just a very, very joyous thing, and to be able to the story around it, right? I think Coach Signetti said it best. It's like it would make a hell of a movie, and it would. I mean, if it was that easy, every school would be doing it, and to see what they've turned Indiana football into in a short time, and the pride around it for people that have grown up around, whether it's Bloomington or around IU, or around Indiana football, to be able to share that pride with the university, with the school, and with families is something really, really special. And I'm glad I did it with my daughter, because I think for her it'll be a memory that ages like fine wine, and for me it's something I was really proud to be able to do with her. So a lot of fun, and I'll be down in Atlanta on Friday.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And Martha's Venmo will be listed in the comments to help get out of
Yes,
financial debt and ruin.
I told my daughter, I said, you better enjoy this, because you're no longer going to college. All this came out of your
Yeah.
college fund. So I kid, but it's
Birthdays and
definitely
Christmas will be a little
birthdays,
dry
Christmas.
next couple of
Yep.
years.
So it's yeah, it is.
It's well, and it's just been if you're cutting out, might have lost you there, little Martha, but it's just been amazing to see from an Indiana standpoint. From my Facebook has just been littered with Indiana fans, football fans. Being a townie that I am, growing up there, just everyone that's been out there making those memories with each other and everything is such an amazing situation, and what a great team to watch and everything. And there was a moment, not to get too into changing this into a football podcast, but there was a moment in the post game where Fernando was being interviewed, and the person interviewing him asked, "What are your thoughts on playing Oregon again?" And he basically says, "That's the first time I've heard that I knew that they won." And that's a testament to what the coaching staff is doing with this team, and the focus and the blinders that they put on to the outside situation, that he was focused on the game, and not only him being focused on the game, but those around him. It could have been easily another coach, another player that might have said something to him off the cuff, like, "Hey, we got to play Oregon again," or "Oregon won." But he didn't hear that. He didn't know that. He was focused on the game. So amazing situation, amazing thing to be a part of and everything. And so fun to live in the South that I do now, and wear my Indiana gear out, and everyone is excited about it and wants to talk to me about it. And then also to yesterday, as I'm driving through the neighborhood, and I drive past that Alabama neighbor, and that I am friendly enough with, and say, "Hey, I'm not going to gloat and everything, but that was a heck of a game." And to see the disappointment and hurt still in his face, felt good. It felt good to be on the other side, because normally that's us. So exciting. So excited to see things as we move forward. Sad living in the South, however, that I do have to work this week, and I'm going to miss going down there, as the Indiana game is just less than 4 hours away from me. But hey, you got to make that money rather than just blowing it like Martha is.
You got to make it. You're making it so you can donate to my GoFundMe to help.
There you go.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. So let's switch back. Give me your kind of closing thoughts, bookend this show basketball wise on this game.
I think it was a good win. I do. It's such a one, and had I been on time, I apologize about that. I would have complained a little bit about our schedule this year. The holiday break schedule sucked. The start time last night sucked. And it's just helped. It's kind of helped combat this like weird, obviously with football still going on, and I think we've talked a lot about it. Just the last few seasons, it's just kind of say it's a weird vibe, and I don't think it's a negative vibe per se. I just think maybe people have half a foot in right now with paying attention to the program. So it was just kind of, I wasn't sure what to expect last night, just with the long layover, and I've watched Washington a little bit. I know they can score the basketball, so wasn't sure what to expect from like an atmosphere standpoint in Assembly Hall. Obviously, every seat wasn't full, but I thought it was for an 8 o'clock game on a Sunday. It wasn't bad, and and just to come out and be able to get that win and fight through that win. I don't know that teams in years past would have been able to maybe do that. So I thought it was a good win. You're now 2-1 in conference. Obviously, you would have loved to have that Minnesota game, but I think 11-3 overall, 12-3 overall. That's not a bad spot to be. And when you look at this year's version of college basketball, Indiana's got a chance to make the tournament, and I think they're positioning themselves. And it would have been wonderful to get one of the Kentucky, the Louisville, obviously we mentioned Minnesota. It would have been nice to get a couple of those and be in a really solid position. But I like where Indiana's at. I've got full trust in Coach DeVries, and we're going to see moments where the construction of this roster kind of shows a little bit. It's going to in the Big Ten season. The Big Ten has some great basketball teams. We've seen it: Michigan, Purdue, Michigan State, Illinois, Nebraska. I mean, look at Nebraska. They come. I think Saturday they come to Assembly Hall. So there's going to be some moments. And that being said, I think it was nice to get this win. And I think with the offensive ability of this team, we're going to be in a position to win some games that maybe some people thought we shouldn't. And I look forward to Coach DeVries navigating us through those waters, and I think we're in a great spot. So I'll leave it at that.
It is a tough situation for this coaching staff. Again, coming into a fan base that's losing interest and to a degree becoming apathetic about the sport overall, and more, I guess I would say, being in the situation of you've got to show me and you got to prove it to me, and so they have that hill that they have to climb from the fan base. But not only that, to start after the break, like you said, getting into the meat of the Big Ten on a good foot, on a good note, is only going to get better. Is only going to help sweeten things as we move forward. And it's going to continue to be a season where we're going to have those ups and downs. We're going to have the roller coaster that I keep saying of this team is going to rear its head back and forth. And at least, again, we have a game that goes the right way and has the right things, and we're able to get up, talk about it, and feel a lot better than we normally would have. And we're going to have other games where it's going to be tough to get up and talk about. But that's what it's going to be. And like you said at the end there, I trust this coaching staff. I like the situations that they put these players in. I like the adjustments I've seen through games with these players and with the players that they have. So the comfortability in the future and the trajectory of this program feels better overall for me. And there's not that dread. There's the dread with the matchups and how this team lines up and everything, but that's this team. It's not the program for me. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Indiana plays again this Wednesday night against Maryland at Maryland. It's a 6:30 game. A game that they should be able to get the road win. Very important to get as many of those Big Ten road wins as you can on this schedule. So to keep that kind of momentum going as the schedule gets a little bit harder after that. But thank you for being here with us. Don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us if you're watching this as well on Twitter. And if you're watching on the different podcast streams, don't forget to leave a like or a comment as well. We appreciate that. Follow me on Twitter at General Chadwick and follow Martha at The Mop Lady. Thank you for being here with us. We'll be back again the morning after the next show. Until then, guys, go out there, have yourselves a wonderful day, and let's go.